Welcome back to the Football Tragics. Full cast here today. Morty, finally here. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm back. Back and ready and firing. Unlike my team.
I mean, you can't see Campo in frame right now, but I think it's on his green screen. He's replaced his house. He sold his house off for a bit of Cucarella's hair.
It's some fancy hair too, mate.
How you doing?
I am over the moon.
Tony, not so much.
Well, like you said, Campo said off air, I've lost a bit of hair, so maybe I got a bit of a hair pull from him during the week too, because I'm a bit shorter than what it is at the moment.
I mean, none of us actually got a win this week. None of our teams got a win. A couple draws in there, and Tony, obviously, the big one. Can't wait to get into that, that's for sure. But, I mean, look at the games. There's a couple surprising ones. Quite a few draws in there. Would have been a good week to back the draws. And, yeah, let's get straight into that first game. It's Villa versus Everton. Steven Gerrard versus Frank Lampard as managers for the first time. Morty, being a Liverpool fan, and Gerrard, what were your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, listen back to your podcast and Gerrard, being one of the favourites to get sacked, apparently. I think he's just in a different situation. Like he's got his team this year. I mean, like he's taken over mid-season. He's come in, he's turned the club around from what was almost certain relegation, and he's brought some players in, and they looked a bit better. I mean, they're not going to look great. They didn't look great, but I think if you just watch that last 15 minutes of the game, then both sides kind of finally rocked up. It was pretty stale heat, and then the last 15 they were just going end to end, firing shots left, right, and centre. And I mean, it was good, but I think Villa, short-term win, but they've now lost their centre back for the season. I think it is. Carlos is gone, so back to square one, and I think. Where to now? Except Everton straight back down because they're in some shot. They're shambles. They are honestly shambles.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It was a stale game until what was literally like last 5 minutes really. But yeah, again, as you said, Diego Carlos, they've just signed him in the window. Big money signing, big centre back. Got him away from Newcastle, who were also obviously trying to sign him. And then he goes and ruptures his Achilles tendon. Very unfortunate because again. He was kind of brought in as I suppose, to help out Tyrone Mings because he's not the best defender, that's for sure. So, yeah, defensively, it's hard to see where if they can fix those gaps that they're going to have. But going forward, we know what quality they possess. Danny Ings, for example, what a screamer that was. But, yeah, they got the better of Everton this time. Tony, what were your thoughts on this game?
I think they're both shit. Both teams, obviously, yes. Villa got the result. I can't really talk much how my team's going, but again, both teams don't look like teams that should be in the Premier League, and there's probably about 6 or 7 of those at the moment that don't deserve to be playing Premier League football. But I think the best stat that comes out of this is obviously Luca Din played for Villa last year, scored for Everton, plays for Everton this year, and scores for Villa. So, the other way around. But that's probably the most exciting thing to come out of this game, and I mean, at least there was a few goals.
Yeah, for sure. Campo, thoughts?
I just think Lampard can't coach, I think he needs to go back to the Championship, learn your craft before you come in and take a Premier League club because he lacks tactics. His game is so stale. It's been stale for years. The only good thing he's done is bring young players through Chelsea. But other than that, there's no direction in that club.
I think that, like you said, he brought through quite a number of boys at Chelsea. And I mean, that first season, he really had no right to get fourth with that team. And we did. He got, Champions League football, but then you could see he kind of, fell off a little bit there and maybe it got too much for him. Everton, I mean, they're a big club in stature, but right now probably deserve to be in the Championship where they're playing football. I don't know how long he's going to last there because, as I said, they're a big club in stature, so they're not going to ride a manager out all season and happily let them go down. So will he stay the season? I don't know. Tony, do you think he stays the season? Morty, do you?
Oh, shit. Who wants the Everton job? Let's be honest. Let Lampard stick it out. They're a team that we all think is a possibility that they're going to go down. So anything above 17th is, I guess, an accomplishment until he drops below that 17th spot.
Yeah, well, look, they're in the relegation zone right now, but they're not bottom of the table. But, so they're doing okay for now, I suppose. But another team that is kind of floating around that relegation zone. I mean, it's only been obviously 2 games, but Southampton 2-2 draw with Leeds. They looked better than they did against Spurs. Campo, what were your thoughts on this one?
Leeds got out to a real hot start with Rodrigo. I think he's on 3 goals now for the season. He started red hot. I think he scored the first game too. He started this season red hot, which is quite incredible since I think a lot of us had Leeds to really struggle this season. But again, their defensive lapses, again, they should not have thrown that game away with 15 minutes to go. But a scrappy goal from Aribo and then a lovely goal from Kyle Walker-Peters has earned Saints a point, but Leeds will be kicking themselves.
I think Leeds, yeah, like you said, Rodrigo, he's come out firing this season, and it's exactly what's needed because he didn't start well at Leeds, struggled, and now that Bamford's kind of fallen off a little bit, I don't know if he's just injury prone and not firing or what it is, but they needed someone to step up. And yeah, it's Rodrigo. He finally kind of showed that he is Premier League quality, and he can be the main man. So good for them. They're looking pretty decent, to be fair. And I think that, I mean, if you go off this, like Tony said, there's a lot of teams that deserve to be relegated and probably aren't up to Prem standards right now, and they're probably not one of them. They're looking all right, and they look like they could, finish mid-table if they can string a few results together. Morty, what were your thoughts on this one?
Southampton just shot. I mean, they clawed back a bit, but that's not looking good. I mean, to put that up against Leeds, I know we could say against other things, but to put that up, 2-0 down to Leeds, most other teams in this league will hold that out. That they will sit there and they'll keep that. And I don't know where Southampton are going to go. They don't. They're a couple of injuries away from finishing 20th, where I predicted, and you all laughed at me. But if Ward-Prowse gets any slightest injury for 3 to 4 weeks, they'll be in shambles. They'll be honestly shambles. But yeah, Leeds just need to find some consistency because we know they can do it. Campo's being attacked. We know they can do it, and we've seen they can do it. But again, they've shown that they slip up. They lack concentration for 90 minutes, and they let a clean win fall away. So be some things to learn from.
Tony, I mean, the Southampton fans, they love Ralph Hasenhuttl at the club. If they're hovering around the relegation zone for too long, is his job on the line, or are they kind of happy to go back into the championship with him and rebuild and come back up?
No, I don't think they'd be happy to stick around and go down to the championship with him. I think if it got down the crunch time, if we're talking maybe February, maybe even January, they'll look to move him on if they are in that relegation zone. But I mean, I still think we're overhyping Leeds a lot here. Yes, they obviously beat Wolves. They beat a Southampton who, again, yes, we laughed at Morty when he put us 20th, but you two also said it wouldn't be surprised if they did go down. So they haven't had the toughest start to the season. They've obviously got Chelsea next. That'll be a big showing. But then Brighton, Everton, Brentford, there's a few tricky games in there. So I think I'll reserve my thoughts on Leeds until probably about 5 or 6 games into the season.
Yeah, there are a few tricky games, but they're also winnable games. So I think, again, like it's early on, but those results can make or break their season. We know that they started well last year, and that's what kept them up. So
Brentford's Warriors, mate. They're absolute Warriors. Best team in the league. That's why we lost 4-0.
Well, we're not going to get into that just yet, but a team that did score 4, Arsenal, 4-2 over Leicester. Gabriel Jesus on fire, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, Campo, being a Spurs man, you get to lead us off for this one. Arsenal, mate, they're too good right now.
Yeah, they're looking really good. Not afraid to admit it. They're on fire. They're on fire, but again, they haven't had the trickiest start to the season. They put Crystal Palace away, and then now they've put Leicester to the sword. But I don't think I've ever seen a centre-back score an own goal and concede again and then be called one of the best defenders in the league straight after. But I'm not going to praise him too much, but fair play.
I mean, Gabriel Jesus could well and truly be the signing of the season already. If he continues the way he is, he could single-handedly help them get Champions League football, which would be huge for them. But this Leicester team, I mean, we've all kind of slated them. Morty's prediction's going to come right at some point this season. We know it is. Brendan Rodgers for the sack. But should Arsenal be worried that they conceded two to this team? Tony, what do you reckon?
No, not at all. Obviously, Arsenal are looking brilliant. Like you said, Jesus is looking like he could be the signing of the season. If you're scoring goals, you're winning games, you're not really too concerned about the goals you're conceding. Yes, you go back, you look at it, you try and break down why it happened, you try and fix it. But if you're knocking 4 goals in, you're going to win majority of games in the Premier League. So there's no crisis yet at Arsenal.
Morty, agree with that?
Pretty much. I mean, yes, they conceded 2, but you look at it, they scored 2 minutes after the first one and a minute after the second one. So they didn't fall back on their heels. They just said, "Oh, you know what, you stuffed up, move on." They get a goal out of it. So they're looking great. I mean, whether this proves or not, I know we get into some City hate. It's a bit of an early crow considering their results, but it just shows that you stick faith in these players like Jesus, who at City suffers the prep roulette. At Arsenal, he'll carry that team all season, and he'll carry that team deep into a finals contention.
It's been 2 games. It's been 2 games. Let's not jump too early. It's been 2 games. It's not carrying a whole season.
No, I know, but this is just what you see when a player gets consistent game time and the manager shows some faith. That's what you're going to get out of these players. And
don't forget, we thought that about Lukaku and Werner after a game or 2. We thought they were going to set the world alight, and then they crumbled.
That was just Aaron.
I mean, Lukaku did start well. We actually bullied Arsenal a second game into the season. But
exactly.
Yeah, if Jesus does get the time, he will get the time up top, doesn't get injured, and he's just high on confidence and has players like Martinelli feeding him and Odegaard, for example. He's going to score goals. And Tony, like you said, 4 goals in a game, you're not going to lose rarely when you're scoring those 4 goals. So great result for them. Leicester, though, I mean, they've started, what is that, 1 point from the first 2 games. It's not great. It's not bad, I wouldn't say, one of them being Arsenal. But I think they're in hot water this season. But I think time will just tell. But moving on, Brighton taking on Newcastle. It's a 0-0 draw. There's a couple of 0-0 draws this week, but I mean, Morty, back to you for this one. What were your thoughts on this? Is this a decent result for both teams?
I think it just shows where they're both at. They're both going to be fighting there or thereabouts for that 7th to 10th spot. They'll be knocking on the door for some teams underperforming, and they'll be ready to, take some spots away from Europe, possibly, the both of them, because they both look like they're ready to play whoever's in front of them. Yes, they're not going to come out and smash anyone 5-0, but they'll play anyone's game, and they'll get some results that'll surprise everyone this season. So 0 or against each other, they pretty much cancelled each other out. They were just there to play counter to their opposition, and I think they'd be happy with this one. So
it's pretty impressive to see the rise of Brighton. I think the manager Graham Potter, for example, was brilliant. I mean, and then they go and lose Basuma and Cucurella this window. It just shows that they're building well for the future, and if they keep doing the upward climb, then they could push for European football. I mean, I think Leicester did it a few years ago. Now they've fallen back a bit. Wolves have kind of floated around there, but Brighton, they're building nicely, and Graham Potter is a fantastic manager. Tony, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, he's done a great job. He smacked my boys around the park last week. He came into this game, and obviously the scoreline doesn't reflect it, but he smacked Newcastle around the park. They had all the chances. I believe Newcastle only had 1 shot on target. When I was watching this game, I don't remember him having many more than that. So, again, if you're a Newcastle fan, you're probably looking at it going, maybe we need to bring a striker in. Maybe Wilson's not the answer for a full 38-game season. But good signs for Brighton. And, I mean, if they can start getting results like this, upset a few of the big boys, win the games they should, maybe Brighton can sneak a Europa League or a Conference League.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle, they'd love to go and sign a big-name striker. They've got Chris Wood there. They've got Callum Wilson, who obviously would their number 1. But I think they've got to realise that he's going to be a bit of a slow burn. They can't go and spend all this money. I think Eddie Howe came out and said it's going to take a little while. But again, if they continue that upward trajectory, then they'll be on course for European football in no time because they've got a great manager. They've obviously got owners with a lot of money. And, I mean, the atmosphere at St James Park, the crowd really gets behind the team. Campo, are you pleased with what you're seeing from Newcastle and Brighton?
I'm pleased with what I'm seeing from both of them. I'm more impressed by Newcastle in the transfer window because that Nick Pope signing, that was a stroke of genius. Got him cheap, and he single-handedly got them this point this game. I'm shocked no one's gone for Nick Pope earlier in his career. He's so young, tall. He's just one great goalkeeper. And it's paid dividends that they've gone and got him now because he's won them this point.
Fair claim. Moving forward, City, 4-0, comfortable result. I mean, it just shows their class, their precision. They're just too strong. Haaland's had 8 touches this game, got an assist with his first. Could have had a goal if Phil Foden passed the ball to him. That was a stitch up. But Tony, I mean, this City team, they're scary, right? They're just on another level right now.
Mate, can I just say before I jump into that, Kevin De Bruyne's goal, absolutely cracker. What a finish. But I guess like you just said then, 8 touches. If this was a Lukaku, if this was a Ronaldo, we'd be saying, why do you get so many? Why didn't you get many touches? Now we look at this team. They've put a 4-0 result with their main striker only getting 8 touches. That's terrifying. I think I might get a bit of backlash here, but I think they're going to roll the league. And as a United fan, it's pretty scary because I think the Champions League's probably in their area this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 8 touches. Lukaku did 7 last season and got slammed for it, but 1 assist for him. I mean, we're not really on his back for it because we know what he possesses. We know he's going to be a great goal scorer this season. It doesn't even seem like there's any chance of him flopping. But, I mean, I think that just shows the Premier League, and it can be tough. You don't really have teams that – I mean, all these teams in Bundesliga, they play high lines. He gets to run time for days, but Bournemouth, obviously, they did get trounced, but they got to sit.
Mate, hold on. We saw the Bundesliga keepers with Werner's goal on his return. Like, we don't need to talk about how hard or easy the Bundesliga is.
Well, I'm more saying that the Premier League, it is hard, and that's what Haaland might not score every game. This is the game that I thought for sure he's going to get a hat-trick and he's going to be on 5 goals after 2 games. But yeah, he didn't get it. It's going to come. He's obviously already off the mark. But I think even though Bournemouth did get trounced, it just shows that this league is hard, and that's why so many players do struggle. Morty, I mean, Liverpool and City have had a massive rivalry recently, obviously, but are they too strong for you guys right now?
Well, I can't say not when we beat them in the Community Shield, as piss cup as it is. It's one of the more competitive games leading to the season, but I don't know. I think, but this is the City we see every season. I think they come out and put a few big results on, they batter some teams, and then Spurs come out and beat them twice. United, trouble them. They still lose, but they get deeper into that season, they kind of start, Pep Roulette comes in, bit of this, bit of that, and I don't know.
Is this your way of trying to say that you still have a chance? Is this your way of trying to say you have a chance to win this title race, Morty?
No, they just know they're not going to win the Champions League again. Haaland plays the way Haaland is. Whatever, he's going to bang some goals in. He's going to do great, but everyone else kind of seems to fit like a piece to a puzzle. But Haaland seems to be that there's no one else that's going to play like him at the club, and they're going to have to change the way they play mid-game, and then there's no Pep Roulette with this. I think, we'll get into Liverpool as well, but having that, out-and-out number 9 that Haaland's playing, or 10 as he is, no one comes in and plays the same way. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I thought you were about to mention that new number 9 that Liverpool just signed. Nobody plays like him right now. But I think Pep is going away from that Pep roulette a little bit this season. It looks like they've brought in Haaland and they've changed it to be just an out-and-out striker. But yeah, I mean, time will tell.
He got subbed off.
Hey?
He got subbed off.
The game was over. I'd sub him off too.
Game for him, eight touches. It's poor. Get him off. Hook him.
But you know what I mean. It's going to be interesting.
Campo, City's league to lose already.
It looks like it. They just look fierce, dangerous. I like their transfer window. Selling Sterling and Jesus now they've got Foden, who's their young blood they've been breeding for years now, and I think it's his turn to really step up and take the league. And the more game time for him, the better he's going to be. So I'm excited to see him grow as a player.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of their signings as well were for depth. They've signed Calvin Phillips, who's probably not going to start ahead of Rodri, but he's there for Champions League, he's there for the Cups, and again, for rotation, he's going to get lots of minutes. I can't wait to get into one of these results coming up, but before that, we're going to get into another draw. It's a 0-0 draw between Wolves and Fulham. I think it's a fair result. I think it's a good result for both teams. Fulham, they'll take, 2 points from their first two against Liverpool, and Wolves, two decent teams. I think decent result for both teams. Tony, what do you think of that?
Oh, great result, obviously, for both teams. It gives them both a point towards that ladder. Another point closer to survival, I guess you could say, for Fulham. I know it's early, but with that yo-yo effect that they've been in, each point they can get's an absolute bonus. So I think they take that with a grain of salt and they move forward to the next match.
I mean, was it this game Mitrovic missed a penalty, if I'm not mistaken? So, I mean, a chance to snatch it there. But yeah, look, again, 1 point. It's better than none, so they're going to take that. Morty, what were your thoughts on this one?
Penalty miss couldn't have happened to a better bloke. Screw him.
Of course, you'd say that after last week when he bullied the hell out of you.
Anyway, we move on. But yeah, I think 0-0 draw. They kind of just Fulham didn't rock up the same way they did against Liverpool. They weren't playing the same way. The Wolves, same sort of thing. They were just, I don't know. It's like a training ground. Like they didn't do much to each other. Jose Sarr pulled off a great save for Penn, but I don't know. It's going to be a long season for Fulham. An early crow for the draw against Liverpool. They're only came to fame this season, and I think they'll be right back down there. So,
Campo, Fulham gone back down?
I don't know. It's too early to tell. The game.
City won the league, mate. It's early to tell. It's perfect time. You can't be one or the other.
I didn't say City were going to win the league because we're going to win it. I think Fulham get up for these big games against your Pools and all that, but they struggle to lack that real energy against these mid-table clubs. But I think Fulham will be hurting after this loss because they should have got the win with the penalty. Mitrovic saved an absolute ripper of a penalty for Liverpool, but then stunk it up against Wolves. So I think they'll be kicking themselves because they should be on 4 points now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of 4, Tony, that's my perfect segue into this game. Brentford 4, over United. Just talk to us. Tell us what the hell is going on at United. Where did this go wrong?
Oh, I mean, it's shambolic. I think that's the best way to sum up what's going on at United at the moment. Trying to play out from the back, trying to play this Eric Ten Hag out from the back football, and I think it led to the first 2 goals. Midfield's atrocious. We've spoken about that. We're going after Rabiot. I don't believe he's the answer. I don't even know what to say. Obviously, if you look at the club going backwards, I think the biggest thing here is all these players kind of get that cop out from the fans. They play a shit game, obviously against Brighton. They come in, they play an absolute shite game against Brentford, and everyone's sitting here going, Glazers out. But okay, I agree, Glazers need to be out, but I think the players need to take a bit more credit for this now. I don't know. Again, it's not the perfect board. Obviously, Gardner, he has been put up for 15 million, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on. There was a bust up a fight or something at the training ground. Apparently, the players have stormed into the office and demanded the signings made. It's quite shambolic.
If you're a player, why are you storming in asking for the team to sign players who are probably going to play ahead of you? You're basically signing you for it.
If you're a Bruno Fernandes or Ronaldo and you're going in there going, we need a midfielder, we need a defensive midfielder, and that doesn't affect me. I think probably the best thing that came out of this game is David De Gea. Obviously, he did make that howler, but he demanded that he face the media because he wanted to own up and apologise to the fans. And again, you've got Mr. Maguire wearing a captain's armband that hides from the media every time there's a mistake. Well, there's a true captain right there. Steps up. Hey, I let the team down. Let's move on next week.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree. It's captain material for sure. You need signings. That midfield can't be playing this season. Fred and McTominay, they need to go. Look, they're fine in the rotation, but that you need to sign Frankie De Jong. He doesn't want to come, but you need to sign him. Rabiot is not the answer. You need a midfielder. I don't know who, but you need a midfielder. Also, I don't think.
I would rather Garner play. Chuck Garner in there. Give him a run. He's a youth prospect. He looked brilliant in preseason. Let him on there. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna, why throw him up for money if you haven't even really given him a shot? And like you said, look good in preseason. But I also don't think that Lisandro Martinez, looking at it now, is the best signing given who he's going to be partnering. I think
You put him in defensive mid.
Yeah, exactly
Chuck
right.
him in defensive mid.
Exactly, like we said last week, he needs to be playing somewhere where his height's not going to really get exposed. I mean, you see, I'm not going to say it was at fault for one of those goals, but he got out jumped. He was pushed to the ground. Small boy. He needs someone who's commanding next to him. I mean, Maguire's a big guy, but he's not commanding. Varane isn't as commanding as he once was. So Martinez is not going to help United. I don't know who's going to help United because Ronaldo apparently you're happy to list Ronaldo up for sale now. So does that mean you're going to bring in another striker? Apparently you're looking at bloody Jamie Vardy, who's 36. Also looking at Atletico Madrid's Matthias Cunha, I believe it's pronounced. So I don't know what signings you're going to make, but there needs to be some signings made before the end of the window, that's for sure.
Mate, it's United, mate. Who knows if we actually are linked to these players? It's all rumours. Obviously, Tony from Brentford, he was linked with us. Like you said, those names you've just listed. I think Eric Ten Hag just realised, you know what? This is a massive fucking rebuild. Let's clear Ronaldo out. Maybe he's not the answer, and let's start building now because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Campo, will United stick with Ten Hag if the results don't turn around soon?
They have to. They have to. They've put all this effort and time into wanting this manager. They've promised him everything, and the club hasn't delivered. They haven't got him the players that he wants. But I think he has to adapt because that United backline can't play out the back. There's too many errors in that backline, and it's just turning over to cheap goals. He might want to just try change it up a bit, not just have this same style of play every single game, because as soon as Maguire or De Gea makes an error, they're down 1-0.
Yeah,
Can I pose something to you, Aaron? Can I jump in there and I'll ask you a question? Did United get rid of the wrong goalkeeper? Obviously, De Gea, we know, playing out from the back. Shot stopper, brilliant, probably one of the best in the league, but he cannot play with the ball at his feet. He cannot distribute the ball. Henderson's had more touches, and I think it was 20 of the midfielders in the Premier League this year already. So did United get rid of the wrong goalkeeper? What are your thoughts on that?
Look, De Gea had a good season last year. There's no mistake about it. But the modern keeper can play with his feet. Ederson, Alisson, brilliant with their feet. De Gea can't really do it. Henderson saved a penalty, which we'll get into. Looks like a modern keeper. So possibly missed the boat there getting rid of Henderson. It's not, I believe he's only on loan, so you can recall him, I suppose, next season, get him back. But
I mean, after his comments, he's going to be welcome back. I mean, he did bag out the club less than 2 weeks ago.
He hang the club out to dry, and he's not going to really want to go back. He wants to be where he's appreciated. And it looks like Forest is a place like that. So, yeah, I do think that you probably did get rid of the wrong keeper. I mean, De Gea has been at the club, 10 years now? And lucky for you guys that a fax machine breaking was the reason you didn't sign for Real Madrid years ago. But, yeah, I think it might be that 1 year too late. Morty, what are your thoughts on that then?
I'm glad you bring up that Real Madrid thing because why couldn't you just let that happen? I mean, we'd have another Champions League if you just let that happen. Good old De Gea and his shite goalkeeping. But I don't know where United go because they can't keep signing these big name players because you've got some. You need squad players to play around them. You can't have 11 guns across the park. It doesn't work, and it hasn't worked.
What big name players do we have besides Ronaldo and Bruno? Realistically,
but that's what I'm saying. You sign Maguire as the big name centre back because he was Maguire.
Maguire wasn't a big name. It was English tax. We needed a centre back. They knew we needed a centre back. It's not a big name.
Yeah, but they are. You signed Pogba. You signed Fernandes. You link with De Jong again. all these players that they come in for this thing. Like, you sign Cavani, you sign fucking everyone else under the sun. Like, Ibra, all these players, like, yes.
Hey, Ibra was quality. You want to see Europa League.
Cavani, I think, was fine. I think he probably could have stayed.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They keep doing the same signings. You talk about they're linked with Vardy. They're linked with all these players. What is that going to do for them in 10 years? If they're trying to band-aid the problem when...
What young player wants to come to the club? If you think about it right now, you look at the Premier League. If a big young kid that's coming through the ranks, let's say in Europe somewhere, wants to go to the Premier League, we're probably like the 6th or 7th choice option at the moment. We're not that first choice option like we used to be. We've got to throw money. We've got to try and throw big wages at these players because it's the only way they're going to come to United the way we're looking.
So look outside of Europe. There's a whole South America there.
So
yeah, give the A-League a call.
Tony, so if that's the case, who do you go after? What's the rebuild looking like? How long is a league title away? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Like,
I honestly think I don't want to bring up. Obviously, I'm not saying this because Morty's here, but I think history has repeated itself. It could be another 10, 15 years away. Like, you look at City, you look at Chelsea, you look at Liverpool, you look at Newcastle. They're all growing, and at this stage, we're going backwards. Mate, Spurs have been stagnant for the last 25 years, but like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you got the Glazers. We talk about how they pump money and we spend $1 billion, but like Neville said, that's sort of money that's been generated by the club. They're not putting their own money in, like, what was your old owner's name? Roman Abraham. Yeah, Roman was doing. They're only putting the money in it's generated. Like you said, we could take over the club tomorrow. We could put the exact same money in, and we'd all make $20 million a year. Like,
the United spent $1.2 billion in the past however many years. So that's a lot of money, and how have you not got it right?
But it's all generated funds, like I'm saying. That, like, you think, okay, we spent $200 million because we've rushed out to buy this big name Pogba. We've tried to bring Pogba back. We've tried to bring all these players back, but there was probably let's say we spent another $20 million and we activate Haaland's clause last year instead of bringing Ronaldo back. We spent $120 million instead of ever signing Pogba. Like, I think they're attacking the wrong players. They're panic buying. They're not doing their research, and it's just crumbling that way.
I think someone like Ten Hag could have been brought in to sign a Frankie de Jong, knowing that there's a relationship there. And that for me was the most shooting signing ever. I thought that de Jong was 100% going to United. He wasn't obviously doing things at Barcelona weren't going well. We obviously know his contract there. I thought for sure de Jong is going to relink up with United and Ten Hag, and that's the start of the transformation, but it doesn't look like it's happening.
That's the embarrassment of United. Frankie said from day one, I want Champions League football. I'm not going. We've been chasing him for how long now? Like, move on. Find someone else. Scout someone else.
It just shows how important Champions League and European football is to players. Like, they're not even willing to have 1 year off in the hope, to sign for a club that they're going to start. They're going to play every minute and then get Champions League football. They want it now. And that just shows, I suppose, what world-class players and players who are competitive and not just go for money.
But that's what they keep signing. Like, are they listening to the fans too much? They bring out these players. Like, I'm not saying that.
If they would listen to the fans, they would have signed de Jong, no questions asked. They would have got these.
Fans have been asking for a defensive midfielder for about 7 years. They're not listening to us at all. The only thing they listen to is that we don't go after, what's his name? Anjanovic or whatever his name is. Don't go after him. It's the only time they've listened to us in 10 years.
No, I know that, but like, I don't know. Surely it's proven now that they can't just keep going after the biggest fish for the name on the jersey. Like, try the Spurs tactic. Go and sign 9 players. They go sign 9.
We can't even get one to agree to us. We can't even get one to agree to us. You want us to get 9? What are we, Nottingham Forest?
How can you guys only sign one person this window and Nottingham Forest managed to sign 13?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. I understand United. You're always going to have to pay the United tax, but there are players out there that have shown, like Newcastle have the same power going to clubs now that the clubs will go, well, we know you've got money, I'll make you pay the most thing. And Newcastle walk away and find someone else. Like, I'm not saying that it's the same story with United now, but that's kind of what they've got to start doing and going, all right, whatever, move on, put it out there. All right, we're not after de Jong now.
But if you can see, like, for example, a manager like Erik ten Hag, he's got his Ajax, love affair. He wanted Anthony. who would have been a great signing, but all of a sudden Ajax are asking 100 million for him. He's not worth 100 million. He's a $40 million player. He's a great player, and I'd actually probably take him at Chelsea, but he's not 100 million.
Yeah, but that's when United need to come out and go, all right, no, we're not signing him. If they end up signing him the season after, big whoop. They just say, oh yeah, we got him cheaper now. But that's the tactic I think they've got to start going with now, because they continually get, like De Jong is the prime example. They haven't signed him. He's still in the headlines. He's still in the news. He's still going along. United just need to come out and say, no, we don't want you. Well, there you go. Barcelona are up shit creek. They need to get rid of players. They can't even register some of them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't run a football club, but it.
Yeah, shut up.
All their clubs are in there. But
Tony, you mentioned Arnautovic earlier. I heard that there was internal reports that whole rumor of him going there was actually like a leak to see how the fans would react to a signing like that, and you saw the uproar. So is that just like what's going on in the back room if they're just literally doing this to see what fans are like?
Mate, if Chicharito wants to come back for free, I'll take him. At least it's someone that the club loves. Like, fuck. Yeah, obviously they all thought that it was Dean Henderson leaking stuff to the media. Obviously now this has been leaked. It's blown up, but I think, like you said, the fans have had enough. Whether it's a protest in the stadium, outside the stadium, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be a protest versus Liverpool this weekend. But who knows what's going to happen, because obviously last year the game did get postponed. So who knows?
No, the year before. He's just walked out of this one.
We've spoken about United plenty. Campo, we'll finish off by giving Brentford some love. The sitting third, I think I had them to have a crap season, go back down, but I mean, they've started great. Give them some love.
Yeah, go Brentford. Ericsson made the wrong choice.
All right, moving forward. Nottingham Forest, 1-0 over West Ham. Their first win back in the Prem is on home soil. Great to see. Tony, thoughts on this one?
Oh, obviously, like I said, great result for Forest. I think most of us had them almost going down. Big. Was it a penalty save by Dean Henderson? I believe he did pull off a penalty save here. Like Campo said, some players might be regretting their decision. I think Lingard's regretting. West Ham fans are regretting throwing that money in the corner to Lingard. And Lingard's laughing all the way home with 3 points.
Campo? Good result for Forest. Not so great for West Ham. They're 2 from 2 losses now, sitting second bottom.
Very good result from Forest. I expected them to get their wins against the bottom half of the table, but to take a big scalp like West Ham so early on, quite impressive. And they're only getting better because they've just gone and signed Dennis from Watford, and I think they're about to sign Morpay as well. So that's going to be quite a scary front two if they both play.
I don't like the Neil Morpay signing that much. I think, like City with Jesus, Brighton were happy to offload him, knowing that he's not really that main man. Can't really do it as much so for them. I don't know, Morty. Do you rate that? Like, how are Forest building? And I mean, talk to us about West Ham as well.
As long as Forest don't now go and use him as their constant number 9. I mean, you bring him on the 70th minute, he'll act like a rat. He'll cause some mayhem, and he'll probably scrap some goals in the 90th minute for you. So I think if they use him like that, fair enough. But they can't be starting him every match because that won't end well. But West Ham, I think everyone's just got their number. Like, they've seen how they played all last season. I think a lot of the games last season, West Ham were, I wouldn't say the underdogs, but they were the team that no one expected to do as well as they did. And now everyone's just kind of got their means of, well, they're going to do this, and they do this every game. And I think they might have found their play sheets. So we'll have to wait and see.
You all thought they'd struggle last year when they had European football. They actually showed us the opposite. They actually did quite well. They went on the long cup run. They backed up the results after the cup. Now this year, I mean, the European Conference League's not even started yet, and they're already crumbling. Is this going to be a rough season for West Ham, Tony? What do you reckon?
I think it could be. Like I said, I don't see him going down, but I don't see him getting that European football. I don't see him making a run. It's going to be rough. And again, throw Moyes into the mix of managers that could face the Axe this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, probably like 3 or 4 seasons, that West Ham were one of the teams that was facing relegation back-to-back seasons. They did the Great Escape. They stayed up. I mean, and now that they built, but yeah, you can't really afford to go backwards now. They've got to consistently make upward steps, like a Brighton are starting to do. So yeah, they can't afford to have a slow start, and two losses out of two. It's not, it's not over for them, but definitely need to kick up a gear. I think to turn it around. Moving forward, Battle of the Bridge. It's probably the biggest one of the round. It's been eating me away having a look at that picture behind you, all freaking podcast, bro. I'll let you go first. 2-2 draw. I mean, I'll say it's an absolute robbery at the bridge. Talk to us from a Spurs point of view.
I think we started bright the first 10 minutes, and then when I saw Chelsea going back to a back five, I thought Tuchel was a bit nervous about our wing-backs causing mayhem. But Chelsea is such a good back five team. I think that's the formation you got to play full-time, because when you played back four against Everton, you didn't look that great. But this game, you just put us that first half where you got dominated. And Koulibaly scored an absolute cracker of a first goal, opened up scoring well. And then second half, we started to press a bit more. Bentancur with an absolute class tackle. You can say it's a foul, but he gets the ball.
It's a foul. It's a foul every day of the week. You can't go through a play. I don't care if you get the slightest touch on the ball, which is all it was. It was a toe in the ball. You can't go through the side of a player like that.
He didn't go through the back of him. He went side on, so I think it's play on.
It's side to back. It's not. He's not in front of the player. It's a foul every day of the week.
I think this is where people are going to agree to disagree with this one. But then again, we changed to a back four after that, and you were just opening us up time and time again. And then Sterling, instead of shooting, decided to play a ball across to Reece James for a one-on-one, which I was hoping he wouldn't do that because he's a bit of a hog. But then the changes from Richarlison and Perisic coming on, we looked a lot better in attack, more spark. And in the 96th minute, good old Ivan Perisic delivery, an absolute cracker ball, and I don't know where your defense went. Like, it's the last corner of the game. And
one of them still had his hair ripped out. That's where he was.
I think he must have had brain damage because he was just ball watching. Your defense parted like the Red Sea, and you just gave Harry Kane 6 yards in the box open header. So a 2-2 draw, I'll take it any day of the week away at the bridge.
Don't get me wrong. The longer the game went on and we were only up by one, or it was 1-1, I could sense it was going to end that way. I didn't think we'd lose, but it's Spurs. It's the battle of the bridge. It's probably a bigger, like right now, I'd say it's a bigger rivalry than Spurs Arsenal, given the way the teams are. But yeah, the way it was going on, I was just scared. I wasn't really confident that we were going to hold out the win. Do I think it was quite a complete performance, bar the fact that we couldn't finish? Yes, I think it was a fantastic performance. Reece James was whipping balls in for fun. He had a blinder. Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing in that right wing back looked good. Like you said, Sterling's usually a hog, but passed it off. It was a great performance from you. We actually blew you off the park. And I mean, Conte is the king of the back five, but since Tuchel's come in and started using it, he beat you at your own game. But yeah, those couple changes, Perisic coming on, it helped you guys. You got you back into it. I do think that both goals should not have stood, that's for sure. I don't agree with them in the slightest. I think that Christian Romero right there, right behind you, it's a blatant red card. How that was just waved off by VAR, who was Mike Dean. And then to say that Anthony Taylor had the worst game of his life, it's clear as day he did. But in saying that,
Sponsored by Pink Himalayan Salt today, fellas.
I just want to ask you, Tony, I was going to ask you actually, how can one ref have so many controversial calls with one club and still be allowed to officiate that club?
I mean, I guess the way you're going to look at it is VAR had to look at it. VAR backed him up as a referee. So we can sit here and say it's controversial, but the people getting paid to look at that video said it's the right way. So again, in the split moment, he can make the wrong decision. He is a referee. He is human, but I think more of the blame has to go to VAR because that's what it was introduced for. If he makes a bad call, if it's controversial, VAR needs to look at it. So again, you can't just say, obviously we don't want him to referee Chelsea because every ref that gives a penalty against United, fuck them, I don't want him reffing United. So It's a tough one, but I think they need to cop most of the blame, especially for the goals that were controversial in this game.
Yeah, look, far aside all the controversial stuff that happened, a 2-2 draw against a Spurs team who, going into this, have been quite scary. They've been good to play. You take it. It sucks that it happened in the 96th minute that they equalised because it was 3 points there. But Morty, as a whole, both teams, they would take this result?
I think so, but Spurs did not deserve this in the slightest. Now, the Bentancur win, I can neither hearsay or there or that it was a foul or not. I think it was no more than a foul than Koulibaly winning the ball for the second goal that went out anyway. I mean, Koulibaly just as hands-on as Bentancur was at the feet, so I'll say that. But a certain Richarlison was no more in the way than I think it was a certain Maguire, one of those De Gea ones that long ago, so that goal should have been ruled out. And then obviously the last goal as well, certain Harry Kane scoring off what was absolute shambles in the box. I mean, yeah, like there's no ifs or buts about it. Campo, move your head. Like that's a send-off. That's a send-off every day of the week. So, yeah, I hate both your teams, but I think Chelsea pretty much should have walked away 1-0. I think it would be done there, but Spurs, yeah, I can't stand you. I can't stand them.
Have you noticed that you haven't lost? Have you noticed that you haven't lost a match under Anthony Taylor for 3 years? So, but he's got an agenda against you.
How many of those points were dropped, though? That's the issue. We have lost because we lost in the FA Cup final, unless that was more than 3 years ago.
It's in the league. How many points have you dropped? Like, how many losses in the league have you had under him? It's 0.
Well, I can already recall the game against Liverpool, the game against Spurs today. They both should have been 6-point games, but they end up being 2 points. So,
let's not bring the Liverpool game. That was not a certain 3 points.
Would have been. But that's what I'm saying. Yes, we may have not lost games, but at 1 point it's closer to 0 than it is to 3. So I want the 3 points, that's for sure. But all right, enough about Spurs, Chelsea. We're both.
Hold on. We're not going to talk about the two coaches having a bit of a dummy spit with each other.
Literally completely went over my head. Tony, you start us off. What the hell happened there then?
Mate, I have no idea, but fuck, it was entertaining. Obviously, they did get the yellow cards.
Red cards.
The massive, but the yellow to start with, they were both yellow carded. They then copped the red cards at full time. Not just before full time. They shook hands. It busted back up. Conte took to Instagram. Tuchel had a laugh, obviously, in the press conference and said he enjoyed it, mate. Like, it was entertaining, but like, Jesus Christ, grow up, gentlemen. Get over it.
So you don't like that? I prefer that than I do seeing Klopp and Pep hug every time after every game. I want to see managers going back and forth and have a bit of biff about them.
Yeah, but okay. Hypothetically, say you had a shit assistant coach, you had a shit coaching staff. Both your teams are now screwed for next week. There's no judgment on the touchline.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Maybe they took it a bit far, but it's the Premier League. There's a bit of fire, there's a bit of passion. Like Conte back at his old club, Tuchel, he's backed by the club. It's good.
Campo, can you move your head? Can you move your head out of the way for a second? It's a derby. It's a bit of fire. Let it go. Get over it. Like, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fire.
But do you not think that the on-pitch stuff resiliates to the stuff off the pitch as well? Like, the managers just shows their passion, really.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. Like I said, it was a bit too far. It's okay to get heated. I'm not sure what happened with that handshake. Tuchel said, you need to look me in the eye. And I think there's been about 7 photos that have come out where Tuchel's shaking someone's hands and hasn't looked him in the eye. So that's a debate for another day.
Yeah.
Great segue into some passionate football on the pitch.
Well, there you go. Morty, you get to start us off. Liverpool 1, Crystal Palace 1. A bit of fire, that's for sure. Darwin Nunez, the main man of this game, fired blanks, but saw red anyway. Morty, go and lead us off.
Look, at least I won't be the only one salty about a ref this match, but Paul Tooney had no control over this game. Sorry, like he was letting everything play out, like everything. There's no fouls getting called, nothing's getting called whatsoever, and they're just letting it fire. The fire that Anderson deserved it. You know what? Probably shouldn't have done it. Probably shouldn't have headbutted him. But if you go back and watch that game, the amount of niggle, the amount of shoving, the stomping on the feet, whatever it was, he's just niggling away all this stuff, consistency. All these players they're getting into it. Liverpool, they got frustrated. We haven't had the greatest starts, and fiery South Americans, we all love that as our striker at Liverpool. Yeah, we're no surprise there that another one's come along, but it was just so frustrating to watch and then Diaz, absolute quality. I think even when we went down to 10 men after that, we looked the better side because our strikers went back to dropping back. I mean, last week he kind of, hated on Firmino a bit because he had a bit of a stinker, but that just him dropping in to allow Salah and Diaz to get in behind. The same thing was for Diaz dropping back as well. Like the amount of chances we had after that, just that player coming back, grabbing the ball and putting it over the top, it spreads them out so much more. And I think we look so much better. So I think Nunez is going to have to start pulling back a bit somewhat. He can't play as that out and out, the furthest man forward. He needs to be the one to hold back a little bit and come in as that, the last man in the box. So that'll be something to play. But I mean, if Mitrovic's penalty last week for the slightest of knee taps was a penalty, then I don't know how Diaz didn't get awarded penalty. I don't know how Salah didn't get awarded penalty. I mean, we laugh about Salah diving all the time, but Salah, to his credit, stayed on his feet and could have been awarded a penalty straight then and there. And same with Diaz as well. He's getting absolutely manhandled by who was their left back, whatever it was, but he had his arms all over him, and then nothing gets called, and it was just so triggering. I mean, but go to the Palace. I mean, at the same time, Zaha probably could have put 4 away. So
yeah, look, I can agree with you.
I was frustrated.
Kenny did have a shocker, and Liverpool, yeah, they did get a bit stitched up by the refs. Darwin is obviously clear as day red card, though. You can't be lashing out like that.
I'm not arguing he's not shooting been sent off, but I think it was because he had no control that they just got across the line.
I mean, but you did mention Joachim Anderson, having little kicks out at players and getting under Nunez's skin. Tony, is that not what the perfect centre-back would do to a striker?
Mate, that's what the perfect player does, isn't it? You throw a little niggles, the ref's not really watching you, throw a few little elbows into the back. You maybe have a little cheeky pull, which is like in the back of the hair, like in Campo's photo. Those are the things you do. You put the striker off their game. Hey, I mean, you put the striker off his game. He reacted like that. He threw a headbutt. I mean, I would have preferred Nunez play against United, but obviously he's not. And if you're that centre back, you're laughing, aren't you? You got what you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, he pushed first. I mean, it's a yellow card for him, that's for sure. But yeah, it's clear as day. Nunez retaliates, and he got under his skin, worked perfectly. Palace come over with a draw, probably because of it. Because if you had, I mean, you said you were better after going into 10 men, but if you had 11, when you scored your goal, you still had half an hour. You probably still had enough time to go and get a winner. But Palace held on. They did have quite a few chances themselves to snag a win, but a draw for Palace, I'll take that. As for Liverpool, 2 points from possible 6, whereas City have picked up 6. It's not looking good. I know it's early, but the slimmest of leads can prove worrying. Are you worried already, Morty, or are you quite content?
Well, I think Firmino not picked up his knock. I think, as I said, I was happy for Firmino to be starting for the first 4 weeks because this will happen for Nunez. I think we need to work it into him how he's going to have to play. We don't play with that striker that comes on and holds the line. He needs to drop back a bit, because it's going to have to be the way forward. Sorry, the way forward for him is that going to have to do it. Otherwise, we need to play Diaz right behind him and then play Elliott back out on that right side, and then play the 4 up top, because I just don't see how it's going to work. Because you see Salah, like he was not involved whatsoever from getting pushed out so wide, and then as soon as they come in, they play the two through the middle almost. Every second touch, Salah's on the ball, Diaz is on the ball, they got the ball. Diaz scored an absolute screamer, absolute quality. But yeah, we'll have to make some changes, make some adjustments. Not too worried. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to play City, and we've got to look at ourselves sometimes, because if we had got the 6 points off City, we could have won 2 of the last 5 seasons as well. So we need to play City at our best, and that's what we'll have to do.
Yeah, Campo, it's hard to tell right now if Nunez will be a star or bit of shit, really, because he's already off the mark, but he looks like Bambi on ice. But one player from South America who does look good, it is Luis Diaz. He's been a great signing from last window. I mean, he looks like that player that just replaces Mane straight up. You've muted yourself.
My bad. If they still had Mane, I think they win this game with Diaz, Salah, and Mane. I think you got White Benteke up top. They're trying to play a whole new way now. They've got to play with this big number 9, and again,
He's
just
not that big. He's 1 centimeter taller than Firmino. He's just going to play a bit differently.
Different though, that's for sure.
He's Bambi on ice, as Aaron said. With a temper, so people are going to target that now. So if he doesn't keep his cool, he's going to cost his team more points this year.
Yeah, I can agree. Tony, you've got, I mean, we don't do previews anymore, but just for the sake of this, Morty, Tony, you're both here. I need to ask you, Liverpool versus Man United coming up, 12th versus 20th. What's your prediction for this game, just to wrap up the pod? Talk to me. Tony, you get to go first.
Oh, I get to go first. Fuck.
What was it last season? 4-0, was it? 4-0? I can't remember. Was it 9-0 in total? I believe. I don't know.
It depends what you're asking me for right now. You're asking me for something that you can use on TikTok later, or you're asking me for a legit prediction right here?
Let's say both.
All right, for all the TikTok fans out there, United's going to bounce back. We're going to shut Liverpool up. We're going to have our worst start to a season with those 2 losses. We're going to win 2-1. We're going to jump ahead of Liverpool. My actual prediction, fuck me, I'm terrified to see this game, if I'm being completely honest. I can't even put a scoreline because, I mean, the way our backline's been playing, if Brentford put 4 on us, fuck. Salah might win the Golden Boot this weekend.
Morty?
I think much the same. I think we haven't been the greatest of starts, but if United are playing the way United are, and it looks like that's the way they're going to do, they're going to get absolutely swamped by Diaz, Salah, Henderson coming at you, winning the ball back. I mean, yes, we've got some injuries out. I think we'll have Gomez starting this weekend, but next week, whenever the Tuesday is. But it's going to be rough for you. Like, I think with the injuries and Nunez out, it's probably the worst case scenario for you, because we'll have a team that's the perfect counter to the way United are actually playing right now, and I think it's going to be very ugly.
It really,
another 5-0.
I was really looking forward to seeing Harry Maguire versus Darwin Nunez. I think that would have been the worst battle of the Premier League. But I don't know who would have been worse, really. But we don't get to see that, unfortunately. So Harry Maguire, he's going to consider himself lucky or unlucky, because he's probably going to concede quite a few now to the likes of Salah and Diaz. But look, we're approaching the hour. We're going to finish it up right before the hour. Lads, thanks for joining me. We're going to be back again next week. And Tony, hopefully for your sake, a win. Liverpool, Morty, for your sake. And we'll see how the other two get on as well. I'll see you in a bit, lads.
Peace.